It was a little bit of a mixed bag for me, but you're lucky that second half saved you. Hey everyone, it's Sharona from Pay Your Weight, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Netflix series Warrior Nun, which is now streaming on the Netflix platform. This series is created by Simon Barry and is based on a 90s manga-style American comic book by the name of Warrior Nun Aurelia by Ben Dunn. So the series focuses on Ava, played by Alba Batista. So she wakes up in a morgue. She's an orphan teenager that discovers that she possesses superpowers as a chosen halo bearer for a secret sect of demon hunting nuns. Yes, I said it. Demon hunting nuns. That is what this series is about. And you know what? For those of you who are new to my channel, I'll tell you what I liked about this series, what I didn't like about this series, and is it worth your time or not binging this holiday weekend? I don't know if it's a holiday weekend for me because I still gotta go to work tomorrow. But going into what I enjoyed about Warrior Nun. So just to give you guys like full disclosure, I have not read the comics that this is based off of. I know that they've made a couple of tweaks compared to what people were first introduced to the comics in the 90s. I tried calling comic book stores and even looking on Cosmicology, but they didn't have anything yet. I know that it's going to be revamped and they're probably going to start reprinting it now that they have the series on Netflix, but I wasn't able to get my hands on the comic to read it, so this is solely based on me watching the series, all right? So, going into what I liked about Warrior Nun, I think when this show is right, when it's great, when it's fun to watch, I think that's when it really focuses on the world building about this secret sect of nuns who are like fighting demons. When we really get into the nitty gritty about, you know, what the secret sect of nuns, fighting nuns, like where does it come from? How did this get started? Kind of what is the mythology behind all of this that we were being introduced to? I think that's when the show is right. Does that happen all the time? No, but when it finally started happening, and I will have to say for me, the second half of this season is what really sold me. I will say the first couple of episodes when we kind of focus on Ava, it's a little hard to get into. It's a little hard for me to be like, ooh, I gotta go to the next episode. But once we bring the focus back to the group of warrior nuns, when we really get to understand what our story is, who our potential villains could be, I think that is when Warrior Nun is at its best. It's unfortunate that it happens closer towards the end of the first season, but when that does start to happen, that is what actually kept me wanting to watch episode after episode after episode. Now also too, I will say, I know a lot of people, actually for me, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I did not care for Ava, and I will get into that for my cons. Not to say that I didn't like what Alba Batista brought to the table. I think it's more of a writing issue, and we'll talk about that when I get into the cons. But when we focus on the supporting cast, some of my favorites are Sister Lilith, Sister Beatrice, when we focus on these characters, and Lorena Andrea, she plays Sister Lilith. I thought she did a fantastic job. I liked where her story arc went throughout the course of the series. I wish one of the main key plot points that happens with her character, I wish they would have spent an episode really trying to show us kind of what happened and give us a little bit more meaning to it, because I thought that that was like one of the most interesting things that happened throughout the first season. And also too, Sister Beatrice, that is my ride or die, okay? If I need my warrior nun to come and save me, I am saying get Sister Beatrice on the line right now. Christina Young, like, she did an absolutely fantastic job. I really think that out of all of the characters that they cover, outside of Ava, I really like the emotional depth that is given to Sister Beatrice. She's kind of this like just amazing like warrior fighting nun, but you can really tell that there's a level of complexity to the background of her character. Kind of, you can tell that she has a story to tell, and why they don't necessarily delve deep into it. It made me want to learn even more about her character, and so I wanted to give a shout out to that actress, and then also to Shotgun Mary, played by Toya Turner. I enjoyed her character. She's one of the characters from the books, but they have a little twist on her character and how she came to be. But it kind of still aligns with the storyline that's given in the first season of the series. But for me, these are the most interesting characters that they have in season 1. And I wish that they would have spent a little bit more time delving deeper into their characters. And I honestly believe that because they spend so much time on Ava, to the point where it's almost as if a lot of the episodes could have been taken out. I wish that more time would have been distributed to really giving our supporting cast a little bit more backstory instead of them showing us, instead of just telling us that these are kind of the hints to the origins of where these other sisters come from. Now also too, I will have to say, when we get into kind of the action sequences, when we get into kind of this hand-on-hand combat, the fight choreography, I will say in the beginning of the series, it kind of starts off a little like, I don't know about this, but once we get to the latter couple of episodes, once people like Sister Beatrice really gets her time to shine, even Sister Lilith, I really think that that is when we are focusing on these warrior, demon hunting, fighting nuns, that is what works for this series. Now, I will say that going toward the second half, I did end on a point where I was just like, you know what? I would like to watch a season 2. Was this executed the best way? It was not. It was a mixed bag for me. But as we get into kind of the final episode of the series, when we really get into the bulk of what the real story is about, when we really know who are good guys, are bad guys, who they really are, that is when I'm just like, okay, like I'm here for this. I'm ready. Bring it to me. But then it was over. But we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But going into, even though those all the things that I did enjoy about the series, there's a lot of things that I didn't like about Warrior Nun. And I would have to say, from a writing standpoint, oh my goodness. See, I was going to say OMG, the other G, but you know, but since we talk about the Warrior Nun, I want to get in trouble. But the writing, the dialogue, very cringeworthy. There's a voiceover that they do with Ava's character. She's voiced by... there's a narration voiced by Ava, and I was just like, y'all, I don't think we need this. Like, I get what you're trying to do, but it's just not doing it for me. And then also too, there are characters that are introduced into the first half of the series when we're really covering Ava's arc on who she is and how she kind of comes to be this chosen Halo bearer. But I was just like, so we went through all of this for 4 episodes, and then you just gonna have certain characters just not show up no more. So like, you made me watch these characters to do nothing with them. It was pointless. You wasted my time. This is time that you could have gave to the sisters that I was really interested in, and they didn't get enough love that I felt that they should have deserved. That's just me. That's just what I'm saying. But yes, there are characters that are introduced. There are a lot of subplots introduced into the series that literally lead to nowhere because they never go back and be like, hey, remember that thing we were talking about in this episode? You know, we're just never going to explain that for you. And there was a key point that happens, a key thing that happened in the last 2 episodes, this key subplot. And I was just like, am I missing something? Like, did I miss it? Because I feel like they're like telling us, but I'm still not getting it. I was still highly confused as to how some of these things kind of tied in with one another. And so I do think at times the plot is kind of hard to follow. You get the gist of it, but when we incorporate the science behind some of the things that happen, I just felt as though they kind of like introduced it and left it and never came back to fully explain the relevance to the overarching plot of the series. Now also too, what I will say is some of the acting is a little like, a lot of the majority of this cast, they've only had a couple of projects to their name, and I feel as though that kind of showed. I thought, and I could really tie into the writing aspect of it, but I did feel as though I was just like, I like your character, but I just don't know if you're necessarily giving the character what it needs right now to really make me enjoy this person. And going into our main character, Ava is really like this annoying teenager. And while I love things that focus on teenagers, I think that for a series like this, I understand that our protagonist, she is a young teenage girl who's kind of thrown into this new mysterious world, but we waste so much time on her being a brat and trying to figure out what she wants to do, who she wants to be, who she trying to be with. I was just like, you guys, can we wrap this up a little bit, because really it's getting boring to me now. And it's not to take away with Alba Baptista, what she brings to the character, because I like her as an actress. I just think how this character is written to this story and how they choose to focus on this character and tell her origin story, her backstory, it just really takes away from the first half of the series really being enjoyable to watch. And that's just me being honest. But even though Warrior Nun Season 1 is a mixed bag at times, I think overall with the supporting cast, with the story really getting to the core of what these warrior nuns are about, I think that is what works. That is what made me in the second half of this series continue to click to every single episode to come next. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. You're probably gonna be upset at how this series ends. I'm not gonna give any spoilers away about it, but once you watch it, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. So I don't even need to say anything more than that. But I do think where the series actually leaves off, it does make me interested enough to watch a season 2. So for me, what I would tell you to do with your time, since we got a lot of time, I mean, I still gotta work like I said, but I would still tell you to watch the series. I think overall, the idea of what Warrior Nun is very fun. I really hope that with the second season that they really focus on the mythology behind it, more action and fixing some of that dialogue at the same time. I think that they will be off to a great start in season 2. But those are my thoughts on Warrior Nun season 1. As always, my name is Sharronda from Pay Your Weight. And if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit the notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. I'll see you soon.